The warm-ups are over. Carlton bounced back after a horrific start to the season with wins against North and West Coast Eagles. But now they face the benchmark, a game versus Geelong, who are firmly in title contention. Geelong are humming, they're fast, they're clinical, they're 4-2 with back-to-back wins versus Adelaide and Hawthorn. They're not just suffocating sides anymore, they're systematically slicing them apart. Carlton spent the pre-season talking a big game about the improvement, particularly from the back half, belief and identity. But they've struggled with the genuine top 8 threat tag in 2024. Sunday at the MCG is about validation. Are Carlton the real deal, or are they just riding the waves of the past couple of years of success? Let's find out. So when you look at the tail of the tape, it's quite obvious. Carlton are 2 and 4, 13th versus Geelong, who are 4-2, with an average point scored for the Blues of 87.3. That has them 10th in the ladder versus 98.2, third on the ladder for Geelong. They've been very strong. An average conceding is 71.5, so the Blues are the third best side in the league at this metric. 5th versus Geelong, who are 77. This is where the tail of the tape turns over. Although Carlton have played two sides that are horrifically defensively from turnover, only plus 3.2 on their turnover differential, showcasing that their turnover defence at times has cost them. 12.7 for the Geelong Cats. Stoppage scores, as you would expect, the Blues are very strong, but so are Geelong. You're looking at two of the top sides here. 11.2 for the Blues and 10.7 for Geelong. Forward half, this is where Carlton pride themselves. A lot of their pressure is around here. It is why they're one of the number one sides at stifling ball movement. Plus 10.3 from this avenue versus plus 18. Geelong, very understated, a very systematical approach versus effort-based efforts. And defensive half, this is where Carlton do struggle against. Negative 1.5 is their differential versus plus 0.3. Very even, but this is where the Blues have come a cropper against the top sides. And for scoring, for generating a shot, Carlton 14.3 disposals versus 12.3. What this kind of says is Carlton are working very hard to generate chances through their stoppage and their forward half pressure, where Geelong are very clean, they're very fast ball moving side, and they're ultimately delivering better quality shots and scoreboard impact when the effort-based indicators are down. It's a real fascinating battle between two sides, where Geelong, their system seems to adapt every year. The Blues are very heavily pressure-based and intensity-based. It's a real fascinating battle. Let's look at 5 of the key kind of matchups. We're going to look at George Hewett versus Tom Atkins. George Hewett, 8.8 first possessions per game from a centre clearance and third in the AFL for clearance versus Atkins, who's 6.7 and acts as more of a defensive sweeper and a blocker. He looks to body the pressure. This is a battle of role versus output. Hewett wants to control the centre. He's been given a lot of responsibility. He's one of Carlton's leading players attacking as well. Everything kind of goes through George at the minute. Atkins prides himself more as the disruptor. The winner of this matchup really sets up stoppage dominance and allows both teams to generate elite clearance scores. This is a massive battle. If Atkins shuts Hewett's hands down, it slows Carlton's inside game down to a standstill. So this is going to be a fascinating battle. Then we've got TDK versus Reece Stanley, the ruck warfare. Now, TDK averages 6 clearances, 9.2 first possessions from a clearance, 22% of scoring chains go through this man. And he has almost become an extra midfielder, where Stanley plays more of a defensive blocking role, trying to set them screens, protecting the drop zone, and engaging physically at the contest, looking to get the game out. This is a contrast of styles where De Koning is really the spark of Carlton stoppage, especially when he crumbs his own taps. That's a rare acquisition for someone. If he's allowed to play offensively, Carlton can build repeat entries, real dominance from there, and look to really overload midfield zones. If Stanley's hope here is to negate him, force him to the defensive side, that is what ruckmen do quite often. They try and force TDK to have separation from his drop zone players. Geelong hold field position here. The ruck duel here won't be about hit-outs. It's about who gives their mids time, space, and more importantly, key ball. Then we're going to look at the two big guys at either end of the ground. Charlie Curnow versus Sam de Koning. Charlie Curnow, 10 goals. And he has this effort this year where he's only won 33% of the 5 one-on-ones he gets per game. He has been quite down, and that's probably been partly from there's been no Harry there, so he's allowed to be double-teamed. The big thing with Charlie, though, is his ability to lead into space and create space in behind him, which the Smalls have relished. SDK was really strong intercept last week and hasn't lost a one-on-one this year. He's been really, really strong since moving back down the back after the failed experiment as a ruck. What this is really old-school battles. No tricks, just man-on-man. Charlie Curnow wants to clear that space, attack into it. He needs Harry or Young, whoever does play that role. Hopefully Harry is fit. He has been named. He stays full forward, creates that spread, which then allows Charlie to have that little person to rub off. Charlie can win this battle, and it opens up the forward line. SDK's job is really simple here. Really, really make it hard. Don't get caught up in them little traps that Carlton set as they lead into the zones. This is a real fascinating battle. Then Adam Cerra, Walsh, Holmes and Smith. The outside arms race. Geelong loves to spread. Holmes is incredibly quick. He bursts through the lines. Smith, he's a battering ram and has elite endurance. Walsh and Cerra have been used quite differently this year. It has become almost Adam Cerra's midfield this year. He has really been acting as the spreader, almost like the backstop, just pinging the ball round, and Walsh has stayed free, allowing Cerra to really feed in the drop zones. The Blues need to stop the chain game that Geelong have. So what Carlton need to do is make sure they don't get sucked into transition. And this is Walsh's next learning curve. You see Max Holmes, he never gets sucked into it. So Carlton want to be able to control the tempo here and not chase shadows. That is what Max Holmes and Bailey Smith are going to be trying to do. They know Tom Atkins is going to be like kind of that defensive player. They want to roll off him. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup. And then the next is the link men. Sean Mannagh versus Matt Cottrell. Sean Mannagh has been one of the biggest connectors arc to arc for them. Last week he was sensational, kicked the winner, got them going as well, was constantly involved in everything. Matt Cottrell started to do the same as well. Very strong in the pressure acts, a big part of Carlton's ability to press at half forward, but also looking to be that link man. He has been really, 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 really important as that next kick in there. Both are unheralded and both are vital to their side because when they bowl is one on transition, these guys are invariably the ones who are looking to try and change the angle. It's interesting, Cottrell gets a lot of handball receives versus Mannagh outside 50 as Carlton look to change the angle and look for people to lead up to the ball carrier. This matchup is one that no one talks about, but the coaches will incredibly care. These two are really the Vegemite spread on toast. They just make what they're trying to do a bit better. Now let's look at the tactical game styles. Carlton, it's quite obvious, isn't it? Grunt, grind, and then they're pushing for that polish. Their core identity is a brand of pressure-built football that is all around the effort, contest, and territory. Voss is really modelled this, rooted in physicality. They're obsessed with winning the ball, and once they do, it's about getting it forward and locking it in. The number 1 contested possession rate side, number 2 in tackles inside 50, top 3 in stoppage scores, top 5 in forward half scores as well. Carlton's goal is to own the ball at the source, push it into their half and suffocate it, setting pressure traps and hoping to generate repeat stoppage entries. It's a war of attrition. It's messy, but when executed properly, it causes systematical breakdowns. But there's a catch, a big one. A big one. The efficiency gaps. Carlton ranks 18th for shots generated at goal per inside 50. 15th for scoring efficiency, 16th for marks created. This tells a tale inside 50 that Carlton work harder than almost anyone else, but they do struggle to get reward for the effort. They play a more effort brand than a systematical. Why? Forward entries at times lack variation or intent. This has been a big thing recently, them long bombs. We saw it the last couple of weeks. Carlton have tried to negate that under no pressure. It's going to be a big test this game when the pressure comes back. Can Carlton resort to what they've done the last 2 weeks and, regardless of the opposition, look to play around it And another one is poor forward spacing. Carlton do struggle when forwards get doubled up, and genuinely you find McKay and Curnow are two of the key forwards who get doubled up a lot, which then kind of makes them work in the same space, creating no opposition, no opportunities from behind stoppage and front of stoppage, and the marking contest. That slow ball movement in 50 allows them defenders to reset. High pressure inside 50, then hit Carlton over that forward half press. It's always bad angles, wide shots, and that is what Carlton need to do. Hence, Matt Cottrell, Elijah being integral in this game. Make sure you take your time and you don't have to go inside 50. You've got to get it there quickly. So try and look laterally and try and do it. And Carlton need to spread that ground pre-entry. Cottrell, Hollands must hold their width on the fat side along with their wingers. And then you want Sard and Carroll to use the outside ball, handballs and get the game going. If Carlton can move up in numbers, it allows them to have more opportunities. We've seen Sard this week, last couple of weeks, underlap the wingers. So they're getting that extra zone in. They're also getting that extra option. And that prevents the defenders from zoning off and creates diagonal entries for Curnow to be able to be isolated to lead up where he needs to. It would also create that opportunity last week for Lewis Young. That would be Harry Mackay now. And then it allows the smalls to work from that. Carlton need to hit up that 45. Use Cottrell and Elijah to push high up at the short kick to give themselves that opportunity to draw the zones up to them, reset Carlton shape and force Geelong to spread the zone as Carlton knock it about. And then reset that inside 50 structure. Cottrell and Durden need to start forward of the stoppage and then have players out the back, leading at the back at the drop zones. Let Charlie Curnow roam up high, get Harry or TDK, whoever's swinging forward, to stay deep, creating that corridor of uncertainty. And then the crumbing players need to work in that space, anticipate, not react. And that's what they're looking for. That's what they've done well, the Smalls, this last couple of weeks. And a smarter tempo control. Carlton's instinct is just to get the ball forward. But against Geelong's strong intercept game, sometimes you need to slow it down and find the right time. Shift the ball laterally, test Geelong zones, and then strike. And the biggest thing for Carlton is when they defensive transition. We want Geelong to overcommit forwards, right? And the way to do that is keep your width. Get Shearer and Walsh sometimes to work almost as high halfback and not get them inside D50. So you've got that ability to overlap run on the return. Carlton have got to watch the opposition's overlap runners so they don't get hemmed in. And Carroll needs to almost have that quarterback role with Nick Haynes this week. So they're always free when Carlton do win it back, so they can kick it to a mark, not handball it or kick it long to a one-on-one contest. Carlton need to retain ball possession and control the tempo from the back half. Geelong, the machine. Geelong are one of these teams that are fascinating under Scott. A couple of years ago when we go back to win their flag, they were nice and slow and methodical, a big kick mark emphasis. It was almost lethal efficiency. They'd suffocate the game and they'd really control it. And now what we're seeing is a little bit of speed off turnover. We're looking at them to try and overload the areas, aggressive forward half positioning, and rapid slingshots when you've got players like Holmes, Mears, Smith in the side now, and also the luxury of playing danger forward. This is very much Chris Scott's Geelong. It has a tactical side to it. It has a hard edge, but it's had a little bit of facelift. They're not winning battles anymore. They're overwhelming teams in waves of running. They're third for goal accuracies with 53.2% of their shots going through. Number one for teams generating shots at goal. Top three in turnover scores. Number one for marks inside 50. They play with confidence. They bait teams with short dinky kicks, lure that pressure in, which Carlton like to do, and then go bang with a switch kick over the corridor. And the moment that happens, your shape breaks. They're not trying to control the game. They're trying to control your chaos and use your strengths against you. The build-up play is very deceptive. It's short kicking designed to bait the forwards come towards them, which allows them to go over the top of them. As soon as the pressure comes, they pull the trigger. They look for their players like Bailey Smith, like Atkins, players like that to burst through the middle and then get the ball to Max Holmes to overlap run. They're a real dangerous side. And then you've got the dynamic forward rotation. Mannagh, Close, Stengel, Mears, they don't stay at home. They start deep. They rote high to become the extras, the plus ones around the stoppage and the fall of the ball. This will stretch Carlton's shape, particularly that tendency to come inside the corridor. Carlton want to try and keep teams out wide, but Geelong will want to do the same. They like to spread you like that. And with a lot of dummy leads, it opens up space, particularly for back lead shoulders when they try and isolate Cameron. And you see Dangerfield has the ability to ghost forward. When you watch Geelong play, they're a team that seems to add 1 or 2 to every contest without you ever knowing. And the turnover capitalisation, we talked about that +1. They do that down the back as well. You find that with their back line, they've got a very, very strong make-up shape. And SDK often zones off, winning the intercept. And before you know it, because they've got a +1, it's almost free kicks, bang, goal. It's real clever. Their score-to-turnover ratio is one of the best in the AFL. You just can't cough it up with these guys because they always seem to add that +1, +2 in every line, just with the hard running, but also the fact that they trust themselves to be outnumbered in drop of the ball and then win the ball from there. And the midfield compression is fantastic. Geelong swarm when the ball hits the deck. Atkins, Smith, they push up. Holmes holds back a little bit and almost create like an L shape to press the ball in, and then they zone up like that. So it almost becomes like a V, the flying V. And then when we look at the shot quality of both of these sides, you look at it, Carlton 18th for shots at goal per inside 50 versus first with Geelong. Scoring efficiency, Carlton second worst versus the best in the league. So what this means is Carlton dominate time and effort but bleed points due to poor execution. They don't get the scoreboard nourishment, where Geelong, the way they play, they get high percentage shots using less energy, better positioning and a structural effort. Carlton generate a lot of scoring involvements, a lot of scoring opportunities, but they struggle to convert, often have a massive over-reliance on getting that stoppage, creating that second, third effort, where Geelong, they will penetrate you fewer times, but because they lead the scores, it's always high quality, clean ball loose with low pressure shooting zones. It's a real strong system and they play the game well. What do Carlton need to do to win this? Control the ball, particularly in the front half. Don't let Geelong reset. Once they reset and they get into their formation, they can do that for 4 quarters, as they showed against Hawks last week. Don't panic on the entry. Trust your overlap runners. Get that separation. Back yourself to attacking numbers and track them rotating half forwards. When Mannagh, danger, close, etc., get high up the ground. Don't fall for it, because once it becomes uncontested, it is over. And Carlton have got to make sure that around stoppage, it's a war. That's where Geelong are strong too, but not as elite as Carlton can be. Slow the game down. Make sure you have it on your terms. Don't just kick it out of clearances. Back yourself that if the option isn't there, just take the repeat stoppage. Carlton need to make sure that Hewett and Cripps really control the game. And the winner of this game will simply be who controls and imposes their style for longer. The 3 guys we've picked out here, George Hewett, for me, one of the top clearance machines in the AFL, one of the best midfielders on form. He's going to have a big job, along with his mate, Adam Cherrett. He's the guy that looks to get the score involvements going, get the hard work from Hewett, and really spread the play. And TDK, the midfield accelerating. He is that guy. He must beat Stanley around the ground, but also in and around stoppage, be that extra midfielder and be the metronome of when Carlton have got to get forward. For Geelong, Sean Mannagh going to be huge here. Carlton have a tendency to really struggle with these players that become link men. Carlton have got to make sure that when he is there is zones there and traps set that they can maybe get in front of him. Sam de Koning, he's huge. He's going to be that guy that if he can play loose and free, Carlton will invariably cough it up. Carlton have got to make sure they make him defend more than play loose. Don't allow him to zone off. And Dangerfield, 5 shots every game. He has been loose most of the games recently, and he's been a real tricky customer. Starting in the midfield, then ended up forward, really constantly on the move. The Blues have got to make sure that whoever's on Dangerfield has the knowledge, and this is a 2-man job. Where it goes wrong in the last couple of weeks is one person's been on him, namely a defender, and then got into the midfield and got lost in that transition. Carlton have got to have good communication here, and as soon as he goes outside the arc, that's a midfielder's job, someone hard running. This is going to be an absolute tight game. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to win. This is going to be something that is so exciting. This is the moment for the Blues. They've waited for a win that definitely has no excuses. And this is a scalp that would turn heads. Geelong, it's the ultimate test. If you beat them, people will start believing them. If you don't, the narratives write themselves. Big clubs rise. And this is where Carlton need to stop talking and start doing. Let me know. Thank you very much for watching the preview. I'll see you live for this game. Much love. Pom out.